Both of my girls both attend a private school. It was actually a shock to me hearing those numbers in 2022 from Tesla because I had no idea, and I never even seen a majority of that money in bills or any type of financial help. I was always the one kind of paying everything.
State would call Miss Alexandra Robertson. Miss Robertson, could you state your full name for the record, please?
Alexandria Sheridan Robertson.
And are you the mother of the children before the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you state the names and the ages of the two children?
Nova Elise Wilson, 3 years old. Kalani Ari Sage Wilson, 2 years old.
And who is the father of those children?
Johnny Lee Wilson, the third.
Your Honor, at this time, the state would ask the court to take judicial notice of States Exhibit A and B, which were attached to the petition filed on January 30th of 2024.
Court takes judicial notice of the Exhibit A and B acknowledgements of paternity.
Ms. Robertson, did you and Mr. Wilson live together after the birth of the children?
Yes, ma'am, we did.
And when did you two separate?
We separated last year, July of 2023.
And going back a second, when you two lived together, was Mr. Wilson, how was he with the children?
He was good. He was a good father. He was very present. He would help all the time. He was very active. As he has another child outside of us, he was always there.
Okay. And the other child that Mr. Wilson has, how old is that child now?
He is 9 years old now.
And does that child live with Mr. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am.
Did that child live with you and Mr. Wilson and your kids at some point?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when you separated in July of last year, who did the kids stay with?
So the son went with his dad and the girls stayed with me.
Now, the son is, again, not your biological child.
Correct.
And have the girls remained with you since you separated last year?
Yes, ma'am.
And since your separation, has Mr. Wilson continued to be active in their lives?
No, ma'am. And that's kind of disappointing, but since we have broken up in July, he has not been active. The whole month of August and September, he did not see his girls at all. And then maybe around October time, he decided to start coming around and really trying to be a little bit better. But I would say within a month, he would see them about 1 to 2 times a month. And that was it.
Okay. And since your separation, who has been mainly responsible for the girls?
I have.
Are the girls in school?
Yes, ma'am. Both of my girls both attend a private school. Even though they are 2 and 3, I've gone ahead and started their schooling. And so both of their schools are required a tuition as well too. They're in a Spanish immersion school.
And do you communicate with Mr. Wilson regarding any school functions or activities that are going on?
Yes, ma'am. I have a lot of communication on my end with Mr. Wilson, keeping him updated, keeping him informed, and just kind of telling him the series of events that we may have, the things that go on at their school. And I unfortunately don't get responses back from him. I may get something every blue moon where he will tell me he's working and he's not able to make it. But other than that, there's really no responses to me saying like, hey, the girls have a presentation or they have a show or a performance. Can you be there? He's not there.
All right. So Ms. Robertson, has Mr. Wilson then been attending any of his school events then?
No, not one school event. And this has been a full year since August that my kids have been in school.
Who has been taking them to the doctors?
I have.
Do you notify Mr. Wilson about any doctor's situations that may arise with the children?
Yes, I do, because most of the time I would like for him to meet me there to be with the children when, we go to our doctor's appointments so that he knows what's going on with his children, their growth, their health, and things of that nature.
Has Mr. Wilson actually gone to any of the doctor appointments?
No, ma'am, not recently. If I, for some reason, am not able to make it and I am not able to have my father who helps out with my children make it, then Mr. Wilson say, okay, well, let me see what I can do and I can take them. That's rare. I think maybe out of this year, he's took them to 1 or 2 appointments.
You mentioned that Mr. Wilson, what is the last time he actually had a visit, Mr. Wilson?
He got them for spring break.
And when was this month or last month in March?
Last month of March, he got them on a Tuesday. He got them on Tuesday the 19th, and they came back to me Sunday the 24th.
Now, so are they having overnights then with Mr. Wilson?
Yes, ma'am. When they get to stay with the dad, it's not really a day that I tell him, like, I just want you to see your kids for the day. It's the weekend. I want them to see that time that they may have not gotten the entire month. So I always ask him, keep them for the weekend.
Okay, so no concerns with the kids, with the girls going overnights with Mr. Wilson?
No, ma'am.
And how do you and Mr. Wilson currently communicate with each other?
We're not bad. We just don't communicate.
No, but what do you use for communication? Do you call each other on the phone? Do you use an email? What are you using to communicate?
No phone calling. Everything is texting.
So do you have any concerns with your address, phone number, or email being included in this order?
No, ma'am.
No concerns that Mr. Wilson or anyone else is going to harass you, harm you, threaten you, or cause you some type of bodily injury?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now, are you asking the court that you be the parent who gets to designate where the children live?
Absolutely.
And are you asking that the court put no geographic restriction, or would you be agreeable to some type of restriction as to where the girls live?
No geographical restriction due to my job. Working for the state of Texas in emergency management, there are times or promotions that I may get that may require me to move a region. And that's something that I've taken into consideration. I do not plan on moving, but if there is more support that I can get financially that I'm able to have, I am definitely open to moving to better myself and obviously help with my children.
Okay. Would this be something that would happen in the state of Texas or outside of the state?
In the state of Texas.
Are you, we discussed joint managing conservator versus, sole. What are you asking for?
I would like to have sole, and I would also like to be able to make that decision on having their passports, as my mom does live in Seattle, and she is wanting to take them over to Canada, and we have family trips over in Canada. So I am asking for that liability for myself.
Okay, so you're asking that you be able to maintain the passports?
Yes.
And also be able to apply for the passport if you're able to without Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
On visitation, are you in agreement to include the standard possession schedule?
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand that would include the 50 miles or less, which means Mr. Wilson could pick up from school or at the residence, depending on whether they're in school or not at the time?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're in agreement with including the standard holidays schedule included in there?
Yes, ma'am.
And pickup or returns at the school or your home?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the current health insurance for the girls?
They currently have no health insurance.
Do you have health insurance available through your employer or another source?
Yes, ma'am, I do. And unfortunately, when my kids did
Hold
have
on a second, Miss I'm just going to try to move this along a little bit. So do you have it available?
Yes, I do.
And is that through your employer?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And were you able to determine what the cost would be just for the children's cost through your employer, just for the medical first?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and what was that?
It came out to minus my part, 195.26.
And what was the employee and children cost first?
226, $226.26.
Okay, and then how much was the employee cost?
$30.
So that's how you came up with the $195. We just dropped the 26 cents.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking the court to order Mr. Wilson to reimburse you for that?
Yes, ma'am.
Would you also have dental available for the girls?
Yes, ma'am.
And same thing, what was the employee and children cost for the dental first?
For employee and children, it was $63.
And then how much was it just for the employee?
30.
And so that comes out to $33. Is that a month for just the children's portion?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking the court to order Mr. Wilson to reimburse you that amount for the dental?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking for any retroactive child support?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And you said you separated in July of 2023?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're asking for July through December of 2023 and then January through April of 2024?
Yes, ma'am.
You agree that's 10 months?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
And Ms. Ramsire's already testified to some income information for Mr. Wilson. Let's talk about what you know about Mr. Wilson's employment.
Yeah.
Do you know if he was working last year?
I do know that he was working, so when we were together, from February to July, he was on leave from Tesla. He had not yet gotten fired from Tesla. He got fired from Tesla in July. That entire month, he was not working.
Well, hold on a second. Hold on a second, Ms. Robertson. Let me go back a second. So when did he work for Tesla? Was that in 2022?
He worked all the way up until 2023 for Tesla. Now, as far as a paycheck, I am not sure after February when he got put on administrative leave and they did an investigation, if from February to July he got paid a paycheck. From my knowledge, he did not get paid.
Okay. So Ms. Ramsire testified to some income in 2022.
Yes,
Do you believe that that was at that time it's all from Tesla where he was working?
correct.
And then Ms. Ramsire testified to some income in the beginning of 2023. I'm sorry,
Correct.
Judge, hold on a second. That would have been finalizing his time with Tesla.
Correct. Absolutely. That January, February month.
Okay. So once he left Tesla, do you know what Mr. Wilson was doing for employment?
To my knowledge, maybe around September, October time, he started working at a Marriott as a supervisor. May have even been August, but I believe between sometime August and October, he was working at a Marriott, and then he was also working at a liquor store, which he called his overnight job. He did inform me about a month and a half ago that he was no longer working at the Marriott and that he had picked up another kind of sales job selling windows.
Okay.
And then,
Go ahead,
also
I'm sorry.
still also has the liquor store job from my knowledge, what he told me.
And as far as what you know for Mr. Wilson, other than the Tesla job, is that something that he does go from a whole different jobs at one time?
Yeah, so Tesla was kind of by the grace of God that he got the position and kept it for the entire time. During our span of 5 years being together, it was jobs in and out, in and out, in and out. May have stayed at one job for 6 months, then would leave it. And that was kind of his pattern. So Tesla was the longest, like, real nice income job that he's ever had since I've been with him.
Does Mr. Wilson have a degree?
No, he does not.
Does he have any special training that you know of?
He is skilled in film and photography, and that is kind of like his side hustle that he does, but unfortunately it does not bring in money.
Are you asking the court? Well, let me go back a second. So those 10 months that you're asking for retroactive child support, did Mr. Wilson provide you any direct support in any way for the children?
Absolutely not.
Did he provide you any items for the children that he should be given credit for, or that you would give him credit for?
No, ma'am. I will give him credit for 1 month of paying my daughter's tuition of $207 in the month of August
August of what year?
2023 when she started school.
Do you believe that Mr. Wilson is capable of holding a job again like he did with Tesla?
I think he is capable. I don't not think he's capable. I think he is somebody that if his children need him or nobody can watch his children, he rather watch them than work and find help. So that's maybe the only little thing that kind of makes me hesitate. But I do think he is more than capable of holding a job, but he almost wants the perfect job for the perfect hours because his son gets out of school at 3 o'clock.
Okay. And when you lived with him, do you know about how much he would normally bring home?
I've never known. It was actually a shock to me hearing those numbers in 2022 from Tesla because I had no idea, and I never even seen a majority of that money in bills or any type of financial help. I was always the one kind of paying everything.
Are you asking the court to set guideline child support on what the court determines that to be in this case?
Can you repeat that question again?
Are you asking the court to order Mr. Wilson pay guideline child support to you?
Yes, ma'am.
I have no further questions for Ms. Robertson.
Ms. Robertson, have you had a conversation with Mr. Wilson about the passport?
Back in June, we had a conversation and we all as a family were going to actually get passports. And then in July, Tesla terminated him and we have not done so. We haven't talked about it again.
Okay, so if you were able to discuss the passport and obtaining passports with Mr. Wilson, why should you be the parent that has the exclusive right to apply and to maintain the passports for the children?
Because I'm the one that will be traveling with them. Like I said, my mom, she lives in Seattle, and she is close to the border of Canada. And so if that is a trip in the summertime that I want to take with my children and my mom, I do feel like I have that right since I've been the sole provider of them, and the financial provider of them, that I should be able to get their passports and maintain their passports, due to how responsible I am, and I would be paying for the child supports or the passports. He would not contribute any money towards the passports.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor, did you have anything else?
No, state would rest. But Your Honor, for closing argument, I could provide the court some numbers if the court would like for child support.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, Your Honor, the state's asking to approve the request that Ms. Robertson's requested regarding conservatorship, visitation, the non-disclosure, to also order the dental and medical reimbursement to Ms. Robertson, so she'll be providing through her employer. For child support, Your Honor, the state did it two ways. One is considering that Mr. Wilson did have a good job, and Ms. Robertson testified to Tesla, and then Ms. Ramsire testified to the income. Based on the 2022 income, that put his gross income at, give me 1 second, Judge, at the $4,400.25. So for the retroactive child support that she's requesting, without giving him any credit for insurance, the child support would have been $832 $833, Judge. So $833 times to 10 months would be $8,330. And the state would ask that he be ordered to pay that at $150 a month beginning May 1st. Oh, Judge, I need to reopen for medical reimbursement. Ms. Robertson was requesting one thing be ordered from medical.
Okay.
State would recall Ms. Robertson. Ms. Robertson,
Yes, ma'am.
are you asking for any retroactive medical support?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
And what are you asking for reimbursement for?
Our current medical balance that we have from both of the girls seeing the doctor since December to now, and not having insurance, I've had to do private pay. So I'm just asking for half of that balance from him.
What is the current balance?
Current balance is $767.67, and that does not include last week's visits to Dell Medical Center, for my oldest daughter who had a stomach virus.
Now, the $767, you're asking for Mr. Wilson to pay you half, and that would be $384.
Yes, ma'am.
And you understand for the other bills for Dell, you actually haven't received a bill yet.
I have not received the bill yet.
And you understand that'll be covered in the future for any unreimbursed medical expenses going forward.
Yes, ma'am.
Are you asking for any retroactive dental support?
No, I'm not.
Okay. I have no further questions for Ms. Robertson. And if I may, Your Honor, may I continue with my closing?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so Ms. Robertson's requesting $384 in medical reimbursement. And the state would ask that be paid at $50 a month beginning May 1st of 2024. As far, and then of course, no dental judgments. As far as current support, Judge, it was calculated two ways. One was the Tesla amount, considering that Mr. Wilson did have a good job at one time. And then that would be based at giving him credit for the $228 a month. Child support would be $781. And then, Judge, the other way the state calculated it was based on the last quarter, the fourth quarter that Ms. Ramsauer testified to, which would make his gross monthly at $2,931 a month. And then child support based on that income would be $516 a month. And then, of course, Ms. Robertson testified that Mr. Wilson does seem to hold more than one job at a time. So we may not have all of his employers reported, but those are the ones that Ms. Ramsauer testified to.
I may misheard you. Did you average the wages for the third and fourth quarter of 2023 or only the fourth quarter of 2023?
Your Honor, I only did the fourth quarter, but I can do the third quarter if you like. I only did the fourth quarter, which was the $5,546.06. And then the other employer of $3,248, and then divided that by 3 months. Make sure.
Okay.
Yes, that was $8,794.06. Divided that by 3 to get a gross income of $2,931. Simply because Ms. Ramsauer testified as far as the March 2023, the third quarter of 2023. I believe she testified to 3 employers. 2 of them were minimal, $604, $273.40. And then there was one, $2,448. So I don't know if that, the state's not aware of what was actually happening with Mr. Wilson, but it seems like he might have been in transition. But I can't add those for you if you like, Judge.
I was just trying to follow your numbers. Because what I'm hearing from Ms. Robertson is that Mr. Wilson became unemployed in the middle of last year. So I'm not so sure with a person that does not have a certain training, with a degree. I didn't hear that he has some kind of specialty type of training, what position he may have held at Tesla. I don't know what that was. So in the fact that he's found jobs in a totally different industry, it was a hotel and hospitality, and now he's in sales. It sounds as though he finds jobs wherever he can, transfer any type of skill set or knowledge that he's obtained from all the other employers. So I'm having a difficult time figuring out what gross income this court should order that would be fair, for someone that doesn't have a degree, someone that doesn't keep a job very long and just jumps around from one industry to another.
May I respond?
Yes, ma'am.
And Your Honor, so the state understands the court's dilemma. So that's why the state just went with the last quarter of 2023. Because again, Ms. Ramsire testified that was 2 employers, but based on what Ms. Robertson states, it sounds like he does hold more than one job at a time. So that is the only income information we have, because the other quarters, again, it looks like he's, possibly working in one other place, but his income is lower, possibly in transition. So that's all we can provide the court at this time. It's just the last quarter. It's the only income information we have. If the court wants to go with a lower amount.
And the reimbursement of the insurance and dental insurance, that was, I didn't calculate okay, it is based on reasonable cost. Okay.
Yes, Judge.
What was your calculation for the retroactive support?
Judge, well, now that the court has pointed out the fact that he might have been unemployed, I did not take that into consideration when I did that calculation, Judge. So I did, I based it on the Tesla amount of $833 a month. That's what I initially did it on. So I did not include the lower amounts, Judge.
Well, I'm going to calculate retroactive support going from the 3rd quarter and 4th quarter figures in 2023.
Yes, Judge.
Based on the evidence I heard, he was unemployed in July, so that month will be based on the minimum wage presumption. August and September based on 3rd quarter earnings. 4th quarter will be based on 4th quarter earnings. And then
yes, Judge.
So I'm going to pause my record while I do some math. Okay, Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor, default judgment is granted against Mr. Wilson. So the paternity for the children determined by the acknowledgements of paternity, so that's not an issue. Yeah, we have to determine. Okay, as to conservatorship, based on the testimony I heard, I don't think that the presumption has been rebutted, just from the testimony provided by Ms. Robertson. So the parents will continue and be appointed as joint managing conservators. Now, Ms. Robertson will have the right to determine the primary residence of the children within the state of Texas. I am providing or ordering that Ms. Robertson have the right to apply for the passport, renew the passports, maintain the passports. So that will be one of her rights enumerated as a joint managing conservator. Okay, so that'll be exclusive to her. So they're joint as to all of the other rights, but the passport right will be exclusive to Ms. Robertson. As to possession, that will be the expanded standard possession schedule. I think that's what I heard that was appropriate. And exchange will be school or home, depending on the schedule. As to child support, I calculated current support based on the gross earnings of $2,931. And ordering Miss Robertson to maintain the medical and dental insurance. Mr. Wilson ordered to reimburse $195.26 for medical insurance and $33 for dental insurance, and that will begin May 1st. Guideline support would be in the children's best interest, so $516 is ordered to begin May 1st. Retroactive child support, I used two different amounts for let's see. I need to include July. I need to 56. So July's amount would be $260. And then I used for the months of August and September, $230. For the months of October, November, December of 2023, the amount I used was $567. And then for the months of January to April, same amount, $567. So judgment granted against Mr. Wilson, adding those, all the figures would be $4,689 for retroactive child support and $384 for the retroactive medical support. Payment plans for the judgment. So for retroactive child support, ordering Mr. Wilson to pay $100 monthly until the judgment's paid in full, and $50 monthly for the medical support judgment until that amount is paid in full. And those amounts will also begin May 1st. Court costs assessed against Mr. Wilson due 12 months from today, and no orders as to special restrictions as to disclosure of location for either parent. All right, Ms. Gonzalez-Taylor, did you have any questions?
Just to confirm my numbers, Judge.
Okay.
Child support judgment of $4,689, medical support judgment of $384, and then current child support of $516.
That's correct. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get off record.
All right, thank you, Judge.